Welcome to another episode of Purchase to Profits. I'm Seth Ferguson. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our interviews with successful real estate investors. Our guest today bought his first multifamily property in 2008 and has partnered in over 500 multifamily rental apartments. He earned the title of Master Investor of the Year from Think Realty in 2018 and hosts the Creative Real Estate Podcast. Adam Adams is with Blue Spruce Holdings. Adam, welcome to Purchase to Profits. It's great to have you on the show.
It's an honor to be on the show. How are you today, Seth?
I'm doing quite well. How's it going with you?
You know what? Today, you and I both had a lot of snow to deal with. And but it's going great because I'm alive. I'm all intact.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great day for investing, just like any other day, right? So to kick things off, do you want to tell us about your real estate goals?
Yeah, I have always really had this goal of being retired and financially free and retired and sitting on a beach. And I've been involved in real estate since 2005, like you said in the intro. And I am not yet retired. And I'm deciding that I don't even want to be retired, to be honest. Like, I know that there's a lot of listeners that want to, but my goals right now are to, number one, help other people passively invest so that they can put some of their money to work while they do whatever they do. Maybe they're a fix and flipper, maybe they're an engineer or a doctor, but they're doing something. My goal is to help them put a little bit of that money passively. And the second goal is I want to make active income. So you talked to, I was a partner in 500 or 600 doors right now. Those doors, we are the sponsors on, and we make an active income where we work hard for it. To be honest, we work hard for that money, and that allows other people to go passive. And my third goal, so goal one, help others invest passively and more safely. And then number two, make money actively. And the third one is for me to be able to put my money passively. So I remember we closed on a deal and I had a little bit of income. And when I did that, I put my money into somebody else's deal. And it feels good that that's the only thing that I'm making money on right now. That it doesn't matter what I do. Like I could sleep for the rest of my life. 5 years from now, I'll make, I'll double my money. So.
Yeah, for sure. And so when you're trying to achieve those three things over the next year and next 5 years, do you have any targets? Because I know you said, you want to help other people invest their money passively. Do you have a set number or dollar volume you want to raise?
I do. I have a 10-year target, 10 years to 10,000 doors, and I'm a year and a half into that. So that's the target, and that should equate to about $1 billion. And so how much we're going to raise is going to be somewhere above 300 million. So, gotcha. So those are the targets for 10 years. As far as the immediate targets, I personally don't have immediate targets. I just do things every day to get me toward that end goal. Yeah. And the real estate cycles play a large role in what I'm going to do or what I'm not going to do. And one thing that I would caution some syndicators of is you can have targets, and you probably should have a target. Like maybe you want to close 4 deals this year. But if you hit that target, but the deals suck, like you didn't do anything for yourself, right? Yeah. So yeah, we have some benchmarks that we would like to hit, but we're not willing to compromise just getting that target because we were so fixated on that one thing than we are to make sure that the deal is sound. So I would say that to the listener as well. Like I'm not in a hurry. I have a 10-year goal. It's going to happen no matter what. And I'm always working toward it. Every day I wake up and I think about what I could do today, and I just work on it. So
yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about those daily routines that really keep you focused?
Yeah. Very good question. And for me, I don't have as many daily routines as some people, but one thing that I focus on as well as I can every morning, it doesn't matter if it's a weekend or a weekday, I wake up and I imagine all the things that I have. And sometimes if you just wake up without being grateful, you'll start yelling at your kids, and you'll start being like, I can't get all my work done because my kids are here, or whatever. So and that's my issue, right? And that might be a lot of other entrepreneurs' issue, is your kids slow you down, or I can't be there, or I'm blaming it on the kids. So what I do for myself is every morning I think about how grateful I am to have woken up with a roof over my head, to wake up with my kids in the next room. And I just start trying to just feel the gratitude that I need to have for my family, because if I have that, then I can approach the day the right way. Instead of approaching the day like trying to avoid them, I'll approach the day like grasping them and enjoying them and trying to do things for them. And I can always work when I'm asleep or when they're asleep. It's hard to work when I'm asleep, but I put them down by 8 o'clock every day, PM. They're asleep by 8:15, and then I have an opportunity to get whatever work done that I want. So I'm working on that right now. Every morning I wake up and I just feel gratitude for a very select few things that I think that I need to be grateful for, and that I might naturally have thought were holding me back. And that's really the biggest part of the routine. But I also do that at night. I close my eyes, and as I'm going to sleep, I just say, today was a good day. This is what I accomplished. I'm so grateful that, I made this connection with my kids. I think that's going to make a big difference later on in life. So the biggest goal or thing the biggest routine that I have is just actively trying to feel the gratitude that I need to feel, because sometimes we get so busy that we forget how important those are.
Yeah. And how long have you been doing that gratitude exercise in the morning and at night?
Yeah. Well, off and on for about a year. But we recently came to the first of the year again, and I've been doing it pretty much every day and every night, every morning and every night for the last month or so.
Yeah. And have you noticed a big difference?
I've noticed a huge difference in how I treat the kids during the day. And I'm not staring at my phone. Let me just finish this email. It helps put things into perspective for me.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really good message. Because I think lots of people, when they're really focused on their goals, they might think so much about working, they forget why they're working. And it's, you work for your family, right?
Yep.
So I think that's really powerful. So you mentioned you're about a year and a half into building your business right now on the multifamily side. Is that safe to say? About a year and a half?
Yeah, we're maybe 20 months into it.
20 months? Okay.
But we just started syndicating toward the beginning, like May of 2006. I think it was May of 17, actually.
May of 17. Okay. Time flies when you're having fun.
So. Yeah, 16 or 17. I'd have to do the math, but it's been about just less than 2 years.
2 years. Okay. So as you were building and starting off, did you ever have some ideas that you thought for sure would work, but ended up not going anywhere?
Ooh, very nice. There's a lot of them. I wish I came prepared to just have them all listed, because that probably would have been really effective. But some of the things that I thought would work but didn't go anywhere. One is calling brokers to get your deals. And the reason that they may not have gone anywhere is because a lack of a track record, lack of closing deals, lack of flying out and talking to the broker. I recently, there was a broker that we started calling about almost 2 years ago, in May of 17. Yeah. And I just called that broker myself. So somebody else in the office called him, and they've given us a couple of deals, but not great deals. And I called him, and I am really pretty good at like discerning and asking the right questions. And I learned that he hasn't been giving us good deals ever since we met him, because we didn't own any properties in the city where he is. And the second reason is because we weren't flying out there. And so I learned that we were basically wasting our time with him the whole time. And, I never knew that until after. But there is something to learn from it is, number one, I could have partnered with somebody to get the doors. Number two, I could have asked the right questions ahead of time rather than just having somebody in the office call this broker and every, once a month, and it kind of go nowhere. He's like, oh, here they come again. And I could have maybe personally asked the right questions to him a year and a half ago, and then basically just understood what he needs from us, what he would like to see as credibility, what would make him be able to pass deals to us. And if we learned that in the beginning, we would have been, 18 months ahead, at least with this one broker, because he's a great broker and he does a lot of that business in that city. So that's one. We could probably figure out a lot of other things that we spin our wheels with, and learn later. But
So let me ask you this: how have you changed how you approach brokers now because of that lesson you learned?
Good question. So for now on, so we haven't changed anything. Like, just to be honest, we haven't like specifically changed something in our company because of talking to that person. But me in particular, I want to work with my team to make sure that we get some of these questions out. And so we are planning an offsite. So there's 7 people on our team. So we have a big team. So we're planning an offsite business, offsite, like go to the library and sit down for a couple of hours. And that's one of the things that I am planning on bringing up. And I know that there's going to be some changes, but they just haven't happened yet.
Gotcha. Okay. That's actually a really good example that you brought up, because I think lots of people, when they're starting out, they might make that same mistake. They might not ask for that personal introduction from somebody that knows the broker and all that. That gives them that leg up for sure. So out of all the deals you've done so far, is there one deal that really stands out as a keystone deal?
There's a lot that actually really stand out that I think we needed to do. And one of them was a failure. We made like $300. We sold it for like $12,000 more than we bought it for. We made like a couple $100 because of commissions and stuff.
Yeah.
And that deal taught me what not to do. That taught me a lot of what not to do. My very first deal stands out to me. My very, very first deal stands out to me because like I was relentless to make sure that it happened. Like the bank wouldn't give me a loan, so I got an owner finance loan. And like if I didn't get that done, I was just determined to do it. And if I was willing to say no, if I was willing to say, the people that want me to not do this should be right or whatever, like I probably would have failed miserably and never done a deal. So like just being driven enough to get one done, that stands out to me. But the one that I wanted to talk about, even though this is the third one I've mentioned, the one that I really, really wanted to talk about was our very first syndication. Even though it was a very, very small one, it was something that we felt like we could bite off and chew. It was our way into the syndication business. So we closed this it took 9 months to close it. And on that deal, we only had to raise $300,000, and it was still hard because it was our first deal. And a lot of people, I'm not saying everybody, and I'm not saying that you should expect this. I'm not saying that either. You should actually try not to expect this. But a lot of the people that we were working with said, I want to work with you, but I don't want to work with you on your very, very first deal. But it's what gave us the confidence that we can raise money. It's what gave us the confidence that we can talk to brokers, that we can do this business. So syndication was completely overwhelming, and now we're working to close a 500 unit
Nice.
all in one time, and that's just the fourth deal, right? And it's only taken like a year and a half, almost 2 years, but it reminds me of a snowball, like we're talking about the snow kind of like coming down the mountain, and every few feet it picks up more mass, and it grows exponentially. It's like a bell curve. Like we just doing that first syndication gave us the confidence that we can do this, and then we started to speak to our investors with a different type of language. We were saying, yes, we have closed one. Yes, we are syndicators. Like before that, we were like, we want to be syndicators. And when you're telling your investor that you're a wannabe, they're less likely to give you money than when you're like, yes, we've accomplished this, we've done it, we're doing this. So that was a big deal. And even though it was 16 units, like it's way smaller than we'll ever look at again. But I think for the listener, Michael Blanc always talks about the law of the first deal. I mean, he closed a 12-unit syndication. There was no reason to syndicate that thing, but he did. But that was a way for him to say, I've done it. And now, look at what we're doing now. We'll have well over 1,000 units in a couple months from now.
Yeah. So going back in time, you were looking to syndicate your first deal. Did you have that size of property? You mentioned 16 units in mind. Did he say, I want to stay under 20? Or how did you go after it?
Actually, what we said was we'll do it as long as it's 20 or more. That's what we said.
Yeah.
And I was on a forum for Bigger Pockets, and I found a deal that was 16 units and that met the rest of our criteria. And so I asked my partners, like, should we try for this? And they said, yeah, let's do it. So like we hadn't done anything, we hadn't known anything, but we dove into it, and then 9 months later we closed that thing, and 1 month later we closed the next one. It was like 80 units, and then a couple months after that we closed another one. So yeah, it really ramped us up. But we weren't even looking for anything smaller than 20, but we did it because it was like in front of us.
Yeah. And what attracted you to that deal? First, like you said, you saw it on Bigger Pockets. What was the big flashing light that said, buy me?
The main thing was the cap rate that we could buy it at, because the cap rates in the market that we had about, we must have closed this not even a year ago, to be honest. We closed that in April of 18. So just less than a year from when we record this. But what was happening in the markets was cap rates were compressed, which means invertedly the prices were expensive. And so we found a cap rate where we could buy it at an 8 cap, at a true 8 cap with all expenses. And we thought it's hard to find these, so let's go after it. So that's really the main thing. Then we went to learn a little bit more about the market. And we liked a lot of the things about the market. We felt like it was gentrifying. It was between a couple of universities. So we felt like, if anything, the cap rates are going to get even better. It's not far from New York City. So from Manhattan, it's like an 88-minute train ride. And right now, people have been living farther than an 88-minute train ride to work in Manhattan. So we saw a lot of strength to the property.
Yeah. And with the higher cap rate, did you have like a lot of rehab to do in the property?
No, there wasn't an original rehab budget from what we looked at. There wasn't anything that we really needed to do. In fact, I think our rents were around $850 to $900 on average, and for comparable rents in the comparable area with comparable furnishings and amenities, were 1,100. So when we bought it, we knew that that we didn't have to do much to get it to the 1,100. Plus, one of our units was 1,100 already, and so like the concept was proven. We knew we didn't really have to work on it. We would just have to do some work if somebody moved out, but there wasn't much of a big budget for us that we didn't need it, and we haven't needed it since either.
Yeah. Gotcha. And as a new syndicator going after this deal, did you have any challenges getting financing for it?
Not too bad for us. So there's a few of us in the group, and a couple of the partners had net worth and liquidity at the time to be just fine to close on it. And I had been in multifamily, maybe not syndication, but I started doing multifamily in 2008. So I had like 10 years experience, and one of our partners had been a landlord for like 35 years at the time. So we were, in this case, totally fine. The second one that we were going to close, that we closed literally like 3 or 4 weeks after that one, we did have challenges. So if you want to go into that, I can.
Sure, let's go for it, because it's interesting. You went from a 16 unit and bumped up to an 80 unit in almost no time at all. So yeah. What was that change like in how you operated?
Yeah. Okay. So the 16 unit took us forever. We went back and forth with brokers, loan brokers, because we just never felt it was our first time, and we didn't know a lot. We just weren't experienced, and we weren't leveraging our mentors as much as we should have. So we did run into issues while qualifying for it, but most of it was just lack of like being through it before. So we ended up locking it up, getting it ready to be closed, and then we had another one that was supposed to close before it, a larger one that was supposed to close before it. But the seller of the 16 unit he had like some work that needed to be done on the property, and he pulled a permit, but the permit was not closed. And so he can't sell a property with an open permit. And so that pushed us back, and we ended up closing that. And then 3 weeks later, we closed the bigger one. The bigger one's challenges for qualifying is that we couldn't show a track record well enough for managing a property of that size. And so the bank needed to have somebody co-sponsor or co-sign basically on the loan. And it's not just co-signing because you have net worth and liquidity. When you're buying these multifamilies, it's a business, and they want to see that you're operating businesses appropriately. So our co-signer was somebody who had already done, over 1,000 doors and had properties that were this size. So the challenge was remedied by partnering with somebody else, and they took a piece of the deal, that allowed us to be on the deal and also take a piece of the deal. So the main challenges that you'll face on your first syndications are experience, net worth, and liquidity. Those are the three things. And we needed their net worth to qualify for this bigger loan. We needed their liquidity, and we needed their experience. And because we needed all three things from them, we gave them a bigger piece of the pie. And that allows us to kind of grow and snowball.
Yeah, for sure. No, those are great stories. So after, I think you said you've done 4 syndications, 4 or 5?
We have closed on 3 that we are the general partner on, and then I've been passive in 1. So I've been involved in 4 syndications now, but our company has only closed 3, and we have 3 properties that should be going under contract like this week. So that'll be, that'll double us.
Yeah, that's a good week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how has becoming involved in syndication changed your life so far?
Good question. Becoming involved in syndication on the operating side I've been surprised at that how much work it is. Okay, so this is really, really important for any listener, and it might actually scare a lot of listeners away from doing the operating side and say, I'm just going to go passive. I don't want to handle all that, but you have to have a lot of hats. So I kind of knew that going into it, and that's why I built the team before we started. But how it's changed my life is we're learning and growing things that we never knew. I've been in real estate for more than almost 15 years, right? And I still learn. The most growth that I've ever experienced is the last 20 months of my life. I've grown so much. So it's changed a lot. I've learned how critically important it is to manage a property appropriately, to do your asset management. Because some people say the money is made when you buy. You make your money when you buy. I disagree. I think you make your money when you execute the business plan appropriately for a continued period of time, managing it appropriately, and then sell it right. Because you could practically buy any property for any price. And if you put the right management team in, you can make it profitable. But if you can go and look at any property at any price, but if you put the wrong management team in, you're not going to make money, at least with syndication. So that's been an aha moment. That's changed our lives. We're putting a lot more focus into managing our properties appropriately and putting systems in place so that we can keep performing a service for passive investors. The only other thing that I would say is that a few people on the team work a lot. A few of us work extra a lot. We're learning how to raise money. We're learning how to find deals. There's so many different pieces of being on the general partnership. Just raising money can be overwhelming for some people. Just managing a deal should be overwhelming for most people. And definitely bringing in a deal, the amount of effort that you need to put forth and the time to call the brokers is quite a bit. So how it's changed me is just learning a lot of intricacies of the syndication business.
Yeah. And the one thing we like to talk about here on Purchase to Profits is how have you profited from real estate so far? Because you're still really early in the game.
Okay. Yeah. So in 2005, I made my first 8,000% return. I bought something for $100, sold it for $12,000. And 2007, I started managing properties, and I took I just made $10 an hour, and I made them $1 million in a year. How I've profited mostly is knowledge and experience. Because I think that's one of the most valued things that we have. And then making connections, having, I guess, what would you call it? Like personal equity, leverage with other human beings. But as far as the money, we make acquisition fees. Like when you close a deal, you'll make a few $1,000s. On the 500 units, when we close that deal, that should be like around $200,000 on the day we buy it, right? So that's how we profit. We profit a little bit by acquisition fees. I've done 9 fix and flips. I've done a wholesale. I have hundreds of rentals, so I have a little bit of passive income. But as far as the real growth of where I want to be, where I can have people working for me and making this business run, we're in the baby steps of that. We're really in the baby steps. I still have to do a lot for my company.
Yeah, but these are the exciting times, though. So I'll look forward to having you back in a couple of years when you're, when you're 15 acquisitions down the road.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. So Adam, where can people find you if they want some more information about you and your podcast?
Perfect. The best place to go is realbluespruce.com. REALBLUESPRUCE.com, because they can find our podcast and other educational content. They can find our track record. They literally, you go to that and you can see every deal we've closed. You can also get a hold of me. That's where you'll find my email and my bio. So go to realbluespruce.com.
Perfect. Well, Adam, I just want to say thanks so much for taking the time and sharing your success story with us today.
Thank you. Appreciate having you. Appreciate being on your show, and I need to have you on my show, so I hope you'll accept my invitation.
Absolutely. Just send me the details. Happy
Done.
to do it.
Done.
So, and to you, our viewers, I wish you well in your journey from purchase to profits. See you next time.